Chase Johnston-Lynch. I'm a filmmaker. I have my own production company called Square One Pictures, and I've been making films for coming up to 19, 20 years by now. Basically, my idea of filmmaking is that it covers a whole Renaissance board, which is why it's a really great area to train people in, because they don't realize that there's more than the directors, directed by Steven Spielberg. You know, everybody thinks, oh, that's what I want to do, I want to be a director. Don't realize that the director is actually the baby of the whole family system of filmmaking, the filmmaking process. So I direct, I produce, and I also write, as well as I edit, so it's better just to say I'm a filmmaker. Well, I guess the best way of telling the origin story is to go further than before I started making films and broke in, is that as a kid, I just loved watching movies. Developed an voracious appetite for creativity, so you know, being taken to the pictures and then going to the pictures on my own. When I was in school, I was going to be a lawyer, electrical engineer. You know, met a girl, she said, write me a story. And you know, hey, right? So eventually convinced me to convince myself that that's what I want to do, was be a writer. So when I went to college, I joined the AV squad, you know, the geek and the projectionist team and all that kind of stuff. And so I was showing movies now, and then I started making them with my fraternity brothers, and you know, made soap operas and you know, little short films. I had access to all this equipment, you know, cameras, lights, and school was residential, so we were in the dorms and stuff. I just thought this is like really interesting, like a soap opera, right? And you know, all these little interlocking stories. So the first thing I made was soap opera called Soap Suds, right? Here in promiscuity you. Will Jen sleep with Roger? And will like, you know, somebody find out? And, you know, doing the whole soap opera Zooms, you know? The one thing that stands out is that I had a couple in the hallway, right, you know, talking. And the boyfriend comes along in the background. And it's like, Jen? Right? And then that zoomed in, you know? It just was funny. I started out writing as a writer. Then slowly developed into a director, and when I wasn't making good stuff, I moved back into becoming an assistant director. So I broke in as assistant director of music videos. Eventually started working with the Wu-Tang Clan, and like it was funny that, because you know, that's a whole story in itself actually, but it's funny that, I mean, to go over that is that like I was working as a producer for Genius. I was producing and ADing for the artists who were getting the credit as the director, and I was learning my craft, and I was making Wu-Tang videos, and so that was my big thing. I used to teach a course here in Liverpool at First Take, and a shoot back course, and I came in with this guerrilla filmmaking philosophy that everybody's kind of figure out where they belong. Every film takes a team of people to make. So like, you know, a lot of people, you know, there's always somebody who has, all right, I want to do a film and I need you all to work on it and all that kind of stuff. But one person can't make it. One person's got to hold the camera, one person's got to act, one person's got to hold the lights, so all that kind of stuff. So you need a team of people, and what people often find it difficult is, where do I fit in that team? A producer has an idea, pretty sure about the idea he wants in a film, yeah? And what it is though, is that he can't really kind of like express it creatively. He could tell you what his idea is and everything like that. And you know, I really want this film to be this particular way. So his job then is to hire a director, his job is to visualize, to interpret the idea, not to write it, to interpret it. So he hires a writer to write his idea down, right? 3 very key roles. A lot of people, especially in student films, right, they are idea people. But then they think that because they have the idea, they need to direct. So I need to be in charge because it's my idea that the director's in charge. So I'm going to do that. Without realizing that just because you got an idea doesn't make it that you know how to express it. So they make films and they wonder, how come the message didn't come through? Because they're too close to the idea that they want to show. Yeah, and they're not willing to step back and watch it unfold. Because when they're watching it unfold, then they can see what's going wrong. They're backed away from it. They can see somebody else, you know, directing it and shooting it, and no, that's not what I want to say here. right? So they get into the editing room with the fourth important person, and then they go, how come this looks like, and I don't want to use the expletive, how come it looks like that? Because, you're too busy running around doing the wrong jobs. You understand what I'm saying? So finally, there's a fifth person in there, and that's the assistant director. And his role is to not even be involved at all, to just kind of like run things. Put everybody into their place. Separate the two people that are button heads, the director and the producer. This is my idea. No, let me show you how it works. No, I want it this way. His job is to separate and prioritize. Yeah? If those 5 people can work together, then it can happen. Some of the people that were in the course actually followed me into production. And so they came in as directors. But a lot of them changed roles because after making a couple of films, one guy's like, hey, actually I like lighting. There's not many calls for a lighting guy and whatever, boom, and I can actually hone my craft. And I actually like that. But he came in as a writer-director. Girl did the same thing, but she was too shy to actually run things. So she started doing script supervising, and now she's a producer, and she's also now finally directing, and it took her, 7 years to figure, that she's ready for it. You see what I mean? So what it is that it's a renaissance, as I said. You have to explore it. Don't go into it thinking that this is exactly who I am. Guerrilla filmmaking is where it's exciting. It has the energy to it. And this is why student filmmaking is great, because student filmmaking is great because it's only just like 3 or 4 guys saying, hey, it's a class project, but I want to make a horror movie, or I want to make a space movie, or whatever. And, you're excited in the mode, and everybody's in there working and adding, to the project. And everybody's only 3 to 5 people. Yeah? So that's not what I mean by multitasking and doing too much. Because one person can do the job of 2 people. But when you have 5 or 10 people or more in the so-called professionalism, the film is diluted into a job. I've seen the big trucks from Seco and CSC and Panavision, and I've been on set where these guys, there's too many of them that they're all just sitting around smoking cigarettes by the truck. That's what they do. What are you guys doing? Nothing. It's like, so, and this is their job. They do it 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, and that's not filmmaking. Guerrilla filmmaking is where it's fun. The best advice is like I said, how I began in the origin story is to watch film itself. There's DVD commentaries, right? Listen to the process. Learn from the filmmakers themselves. When I teach filmmaking, I don't teach it like, this is how I do it, and you should do it my way. I say, I've watched this guy. Here, this is the scene. Here's the commentary. You might think it's boring, but if you actually want to learn something, you have to see how it's done. So, watch film. My advice.